This is actually a very subtle bit of heroics from them, being willing to head through that crack into This show does weird things to my brain. And I'm talking both about Power Rangers and Orange Ranger videos, Ninja Steel episode reviews. Hello there, heroes. I'm the Orange Ranger, and welcome to another Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel episode review. And whoo boy, what an episode I have for you today. If you're thinking that it's a little bit soon for me to be releasing another Super Ninja Steel episode review, in a way, it actually kind of is. This episode did not air on a Saturday, but on a Tuesday. Tuesday, August 28th, 2018. And if you've watched any of my videos, even this one, if it's your very first video, I'm sure you probably know why that date is significant. On August 28th, 1993, Fox Kids took a chance on a new weird little show in their Saturday morning lineup. The live-action show, produced by Haim Saban, combined Japanese footage of spandex-clad heroes fighting against rubber-suited monsters with Saved by the Bell-style American footage of high schoolers. That show, of course, was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and not only was it an amazing success all on its own, but it spawned a media franchise that has, admittedly sometimes by the skin of its teeth, survived until this day, its 25th anniversary. While the anniversary has already been honored all year long with things like special merchandise, the amazing Shattered Grid storyline in the Boom comics, the equally amazing RPG streaming series Power Rangers Hyperforce, and etc., of course, the TV show had to take its own turn at honoring such a special milestone. Now, we already got some hints to the story of this episode in the previous one, so let's take a look at how those hints paid off and see how Super Ninja Steel paid homage to those who came before by taking a look at the 10th episode of Super Ninja Steel, as well as Power Rangers' 25th anniversary special, Dimensions in Danger. This episode hits you with the nostalgia right from the word go, but also with some hints of things to come. Tommy Oliver, the embodiment of Power Rangers lore, pulls up to his home in Reefside. He's talking to presumably his wife on the phone, though it's not made clear exactly who that is. He tells his wife that he's going to take JJ to school. As he walks up to his house, he sees that JJ left his bike sitting on the porch and calls into the house that he told him not to do that. JJ calls back out from inside, "Sorry, Dad!" Yes, JJ is Tommy's son, and this is where things start to get really interesting and tying into future things coming for the franchise. You see, Boom Studios has a graphic novel coming out about Tommy in December called Soul of the Dragon. The story is set in the future with an older Tommy looking for his son who is a member of SPD and has gone missing. His son's name in that novel is JJ. And before anybody tries to tell me that it's just an amazing coincidence that the comics and the show are completely separate and the TV show would never involve the story of the comics in any way, I had some folks from Hasbro tell me at Power Morphicon to be watching out for times where the TV show was going to touch on the story of the comics as part of a company policy and intended direction of cross-pollination of the franchise. So yes, this was intentional. Anyway, as Tommy walked up to the porch, a portal opened up that he did not see. Somebody walks up behind Tommy and greets him by name, and he turns around, shocked. Opening sequence! One that's just Super Ninja Steel's regular opening sequence and doesn't include any special credits for the guests, which was actually kind of disappointing. I was hoping for something like the Dino Thunder Ninja Storm team-up, where we had special credits with footage from the episode. The Ninja Steel Rangers, and you'll note in this review that I have to specifically refer to them as the Ninja Steel Rangers, are playing pool at school. Something that they do so often that if it keeps happening, soon I'm just going to have to say that they're actually attending class at the local pool hall. However, this game does not get to begin as Mick grabs the cue ball and orders the Rangers to the base immediately. When they get there, Mick says that they have received an emergency message, but it just tells them to expect some company. That company then arrives, and it's the 3 Organization 13 members. Brody asks if it's finally time to learn who the 3 of them are, and they say, yes, it is. Okay, so Roxas, Jean, and Axel, right? Okay, no, the first one takes off his cloak and reveals that it is indeed Wes, the Red Time Force Ranger. As a matter of fact, Brody recognizes him on sight. I will bite my tongue on that just long enough to reveal that the other 2 also uncloak, revealing RPM Ranger Operator Series Silver Gemma and the Blue Dino Charge Ranger Coda. Levi says that Mick told them all about the teams of past Rangers that came before them, but they've never heard of RPM or Dino Charge. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Not only is RPM set in another dimension, which was officially established by both Samurai and Super Megaforce, not only is Dino Charge set in another dimension, which was established by the first episode of Super Ninja Steel when Sledge showed up, but 100% canon assured and established now, Ninja Steel takes place in the mainline continuity, since Mick was able to tell the Rangers about the past teams that came before them, such as Power Rangers Time Force. However, that leads to the problem. I have said this a number of times, and no, I'm not going to shut up about it. At the beginning of Ninja Steel, only Madame Odious and maybe Mick knew what Power Rangers were. Brody said that his dad transformed into some kind of ninja superhero that he thought was called a Power Ranger. Sarah and Preston reacted with confusion at the term Power Ranger. Calvin and Haley didn't have any idea what they had transformed into when they morphed for the first time. And Levi, recognizing or not what he had turned into wasn't really a part of his backstory because of the whole odious memories thing, but anyway, how did none of these people know what Power Rangers were if this story takes place in the mainline continuity? The legendary battle was only 4 years ago. These people were no younger than 10 when that happened. It's not like they were too young to remember the Power Rangers. And don't even get me started on where the Overdrive Rangers were when Galvanax showed up the first time. Anyway, Wes explains, and firmly establishes in canon, that there are a few different dimensions in the Power Rangers multiverse, and each of them have Power Rangers. Gemma, with a rather discordant smile on her face, explains how she comes from a dimension where a sentient computer virus nearly wiped out all of humanity. Coda says that he is from Dino Charge World. Not really a world, but I mean, this is Coda, that's more than close enough, where dinosaurs are still alive. Haley says that she would love to see that kind of a world, and that flawlessly segues into how these Rangers came to be together from across dimensions. The Time Force Rangers, and by that I'm guessing mainly Trip, created devices called transportals that allow people to move between dimensions. By the way, my headcanon is 100% that these things work by opening portals that travel through the hyperstream. Gemma says that using these devices destabilizes the morphin grid, meaning that Super Ninja Steel has now technically beaten out Beast Morphers as the most recent show to have mentioned the grid, so they're only to be used in case of emergencies. Like the one they happen to be facing right now. Various Rangers have disappeared from across the dimensions. Though thinking about this episode going forward, all of the missing Rangers are actually from the one dimension, the mainline continuity, So I'm not sure why Gemma said that they had disappeared from across dimensions, but anyway. First things first, have the Ninja Steel Rangers noticed anything suspicious? I mean, besides the weird magic creature on the spaceship up in orbit that sends down giant monsters for us to fight every week? Typical Tuesday. However, all the Ninja Steel Rangers want to help however they can. Wes says that the first step there is locating Tommy Oliver, and all of the Ninja Steel Rangers know the name. He has stopped answering his communicator and could be in trouble. They all leave to take a road trip to a little town called Reefside. They all hop in Brody's truck and head to Tommy's house in Reefside and see an energy beam head into his backyard as they get there. They sneak around back and stay hidden in the bushes as they see some Basher bots carry a coffin out of a portal. Tommy walks out of his house as this guy, Lord Draven, shows up. Tommy bows to this creature. Wes says that Draven is the lord of a dimension called the Multiverse. Surely a place where asparagus is delicious and chocolate ice cream is disgusting. Anyway, Madame Odious teleports down, greeting Draven and asking how the robot technology she provided is working out. Last time I checked, Madame Odious's thing was magic, not robots, but anyway. Draven reveals to the audience and to the Rangers that Tommy is actually Robo Tommy. He has already captured 7 of the Power Rangers. I have to say, as hit or miss as some of the CGI was in this episode, the robotic forms of the clones looked pretty cool. It turns out that the 2 of them have struck a deal for this dimension. And by the by, I'm going to be pointing out a few other instances of this as we go on here, but this episode seems to hint back to some backstory that we don't actually have, at least not yet. Madame Odious uses her magic to enhance 3 arrows, turning them into mega arrows. Draven can use them to shatter the barriers between dimensions so he can take them all over. In return, once he does conquer all the dimensions, Odious will get control of the one she is in, the mainline continuity as it turns out. Of course, I'm not entirely sure why this deal was necessary, since Draven has already shown the ability to travel from his dimension to the mainline continuity dimension, but they all leave and the Rangers put together the pieces that they just learned about. They know that they both have to rescue the captured Rangers, as well as put a stop to this whole arrows shattering dimensions thing. And to do both of those, they need to head to the same place, the Multiverse. Wes opens up a portal and they all race over there. And then Coda, apparently the team's faithful hunting dog, picks up a scent and they run in that direction. Robo Tommy enters a room inside Draven's palace where the captured Rangers are strapped to tables unconscious. He approaches Antonio, the Gold Samurai Ranger, and activates the devices which create the robotic clones of the Rangers. It's the same suits, just with black boots, black gloves, black spiked shoulder pads, and black belts that have Draven's face as the buckle. It's actually a pretty cool look. We take a look at the other tables in the room and we see Kat, in this case the Pink Turbo Ranger, Trent, Dino Thunder White, TJ, In Space Blue, Gia, Yellow Caffeine-Free Vanilla Megaforce in this case, and Rocky, MMPR Red. Each of their machines has their helmet sitting on it to denote which Ranger they are. Suddenly, there are laser blasts, and someone starts escaping, although we can't see who it is. Robo Tommy orders the Basher bots to not let the prisoner escape, but of course they do. He starts to give chase with the Basher bots when Draven steps in and demands to know what's going on. Robo Tommy says one of the Rangers escaped and damaged the cloning system. Draven says the system is not just damaged, but completely shut down. He's upset about this, of course, but says he still has a big enough army to accomplish his goals, and we see a massive Ranger robot clone army march outside of the palace. Draven takes the first Mega Arrow and orders Robo Tommy to hide the other 2 for now. The Rangers start getting close to Draven's fortress as Coda pulls a Basher bot off a bridge, but when they hop up onto the bridge and start getting close, Basher bots pin them in from both sides with huge cannons. The Rangers prepare to bravely fight anyway, but then a streaking invisible blur starts bashing through all of the grunts and taking them all out. The Rangers prepare to fight whoever this is as he approaches, but then he reveals himself. The Black Dino Thunder Ranger, and yes, it's Tommy. Soak me in, people. Tommy and Wes hug as Tommy explains that they obviously didn't know about his Black Dino Gem power of invisibility. Or his super speed, apparently, which to be fair is something we didn't really know about either. So, when Tommy woke up, he was able to use that power to escape. He tells the other Rangers about the robot clones, and they figure out that Draven is building an army to invade all Ranger dimensions. Or just all dimensions? Preston suddenly uses telescopular vision to spot somebody on the roof of the palace, and then pulls a pair of binoculars out of absolutely nowhere to see that it is Draven firing the first arrow into the sky, cracking the barrier between the dimensions. The Rangers realize that they're running out of time, so they decide to split up. Tommy takes the past Rangers to just invade the palace and rescue the other Rangers, while the Ninja Steel Rangers go to look for the arrows. Of course, at this point, they had absolutely no way of knowing that the arrows wouldn't have been at the palace. The Ninja Steel Rangers morph and take on a team of Basherbots and Kudabots, which, thinking about it, I guess Odious provided to Draven as ground troops, but anyway. Drawing out Lord Draven himself. He blasts the Rangers with arrows from the sky, but Brody stands tall and wires over to Draven to take him on one-on-one. The two of them basically blast at each other a lot before the other Rangers catch back up, and they all use a steel/finishing move on him. However, Draven is not your typical monster of the week and raises a shield that actually blocks the finisher before knocking them all away. In what was really a pretty clever ninja move, Levi announces a retreat and everybody disappears. Draven leaves to go find the Rangers, but it turns out Brody and Sarah were only hiding behind a camo curtain, and they then enter the palace. The others teleported only a short distance away, which means they could have really just followed Brody and Sarah in, but instead they say they'll find another way into the palace. We see the Warrior Dome pilot itself over the crack between the dimensions as Tommy leads the veteran Rangers into the chamber where the other veteran Rangers are being held. It occurred to me here that Tommy could have just pretended to be evil Tommy, I'm assuming he knows that there's a robotic clone of him around, and ordered the Basherbots to leave, but instead he decides to come in punching. They wipe the floor with the grunts anyway, and then Wes and Gemma blast all the computers and all the restraints holding the Rangers. You just fire those lasers right near all of that unmorphed skin, everybody. Pew, 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 pew! The other Rangers wake up and Wes fills everybody in. Interestingly, TJ says that he was hoping he'd never hear Lord Draven's name again. Once again, hinting at previous backstory that we don't have yet, hoping these gaps get filled in at some point. It seems too intentional to just be an accident in the writing. The Rangers realize that robotic clones with Ranger powers are going to be pretty tough to stop, but they have to try. They all head out to go do so, but then Robo Tommy leaps out and kicks Tommy back. Robo Tommy says who else is fit to take out the real Tommy than him. Tommy says unless he's got a Master Morpher, he's nothing but a cheap copy. The robot morphs into Dino Thunder Black, and that suit actually looks pretty badass with the extra black notes and the spikes and everything. Also, his eyes glowed red for a second inside of the visor before fading, but I really wish they had stayed that way. The suit looked even more evil and badass with that. Tommy activates his Master Morpher, which at first looks just like his regular gold MMPR Morpher, until he calls out Zeo Ranger 5, red. The coin transforms into the Zeo symbol, and then yes, Tommy is morphed into the red Zeo Ranger. I assure you, heroes, this is really happening. This is really a thing. Tommy's Master Morpher allows him to access all of his past powers. After fighting for a bit, he activates the Morpher again, calling out Tiger Zord, White Ranger power, morphing into the white Mighty Morphin Ranger. Then, of course, it's time for Dragon Zord, Green Ranger power. When he transformed into the Green Ranger, I noticed something kind of weird that might be a little bit of a nitpick, but as a big guy myself, it's something I noticed. The stunt person inside the Green Ranger suit seemed to be thick. Not fat, just like wide. Wider than JDF, I guess, for me to notice. Anyway, Tommy easily defeats his robotic clone because he has no heart. How Japanese of them. The robotic clone explodes and takes out the entire room. So I guess they really now don't need to worry about those robotic clones having any more reinforcements, huh? And there's something I need to note here because I know people are going to ask me about it if I don't. Yes, I have seen the extended cut of this fight scene that was posted by Nickelodeon to YouTube just after this episode finished airing in the East. It's obviously not going to count towards this episode's review prospects, but in this extended cut, we got an unmorphed Tommy vs. Tommy fight, as well as a Dino Thunder Black mirror match. What we did not get in the extended cut was Tommy transforming with his red turbo powers, because these are powers that he seems to just avoid for some reason. I mean, if you think about it, even during Fighting Spirit, he didn't even imagine those as part of his powers. Sarah and Brody enter the last room of the palace that they need to search, but Lord Draven catches up to them. They fight, but rather stupidly, Draven blasts the two through a door into a hidden room where the arrows are. Although, to be fair, he did just tell Robo Tommy to hide the arrows, so he may not have known where they were actually hidden. Having found the arrows, Sarah launches her quick escape plan. She ties Brody to the chest since he landed on top of it, fan fiction being written as we speak. She tosses the rope out to Preston, having it latch on to the Dragonzord's foot, and they fly off. Levi, Calvin, and Haley, and Sarah too, I'm presuming, leap into the air and activate glider claws, and the Ninja Steel Rangers escape. The Rangers know that they have to get the Mega Arrows away from Draven, so they plan to head through the crack between dimensions, hoping it's their dimension that's on the other side. I have to admit, this is a nice bit of very subtle heroics from the Ninja Steel Rangers, being willing to head through that crack between the dimensions without necessarily knowing that it's their dimension that's on the other side. However, Draven walks through a portal to the ground, which I guess was quicker than just walking down there, and orders his Robo clones to blast them down. The Robo clone Rangers pull out screen-accurate blasters and do so. The Ninja Steel Rangers fall and are demorphed. They land on the ground and realize that they're right near the dimensional barrier, and I'm sorry, no, I don't buy this. The dimensional barrier is not something that just exists in a physical location somewhere on a planet. Up in the sky is a little easier for me to accept. That's a bit more existential and not as certain of an actual physical location. But you're telling me that whatever planet in the Antiverse they just happen to be on right now just sits smack flat against a dimensional barrier? No. Anyway, Brody sees Draven's army and calls the other Rangers over. They are terrified of an army that size, but really it didn't look all that intimidating. It looks to be about maybe 420 soldiers. Now, I grant you that each of those soldiers has Ranger power, but still, that's like the minimal size of one battalion. Draven recovers the Mega Arrows from the busted remains of the coffin and fires the second one into the sky, the Ninja Steel Rangers not doing a darn thing or even moving to try and stop him. I mean, hey, I guess they figured that the second arrow was no worse than the first. It's only the third you really have to worry about, right? Draven says there's no way that these Rangers can stop his army, but then the legendary Rangers do a ninja reveal, which is something we have no indication that the Ninja Steel Rangers taught them how to do, though I do guess that Tommy, Cat, and Rocky have used ninja powers in the past, and the odds are evened up a little. Brody announces that it's morphin' time, and everyone instamorphs. I mean, they all activate their morphers, but we don't get any of the individual morphing calls. We don't get individual morphing sequences. It was kind of a letdown, to be honest with you. I mean, the Ninja Steel Rangers did get their ninja spin, but other than that, really nothing. Still, a badass explosion behind 16 Power Rangers. And another nice touch, they gave Rocky in the MMPR red suit the big, "You're going down, Draven," line, which kind of harkens the show all the way back to its beginning, since Tommy and the Green Ranger weren't there from the very start. Okay, Rocky wasn't there from the very start either, but I'm talking about the red suit. The Ranger clone army moves in on the real, actual Rangers, while Draven grabs the last arrow and retreats, saying that it's just a matter of time. Coda fights with caveman strength and blasts some of the clones by himself. It would have been really nice to see him fighting side by side with Preston, Sudarso brother power, especially since Kat fights some pink Turbo Ranger clones, and then Sarah jumps in for some pink and pink power. In this case, I guess too much pink energy was dangerous. For the clones, that is. For some reason, it took me getting to this point and writing up my review that made me realize something. This story really would have benefited from one of the Ninja Steel Rangers having been kidnapped as well. That way, the Ninja Steel Rangers would have had more of a reason to be involved in this story, and we would have gotten Ninja Steel Clone Rangers as well, which would have been striking imagery even for the young children that are just watching Ninja Steel. Gemma gets chased by some yellow Megaforce clones, but knocks one of them off of a big shipping container that exists in the Multiverse for some reason. Rocky blasts back some MMPR red clones, showing more of that color matching that we really should have gotten for each of the Rangers because of something I'll reveal in a little bit here. Antonio and Levi blast out of a factory that exists for the same reason that the shipping container does. I mean, hey, I guess at least this wasn't set in a rock quarry. And blast off some of the Samurai Gold clones. Haley fights off various clones, knocking a Turbo Pink one into a rubber pallet. Wes slams down a Megaforce Yellow clone, and then Tommy takes out what was probably some past frustration on a Dino Thunder White clone. The Rangers then all gather up and do a pew 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 finisher on the remaining clones. Odious really wants Draven to succeed for some reason, so she fires the Gigantifier through the crack between dimensions and makes Draven grow. Of course, all this does is make Draven even easier for the Rangers to spot, when it would have been better for him to have stayed in the shadows and just fired the third arrow. But I guess this is something that Odious didn't put together, being in another dimension and just observing this on the television monitor situation. Anyway, the sky turns red again, which is actually really just the rift changing colors a little bit. And the giant Draven fires the last arrow into the rift. I want you to remember now that this is now a giant arrow fired by a giant Draven, thus being even closer to the sky and the rift. And yet the Rangers still have time to do something about it. And what a something is done. It's Tommy to the rescue, of course. He returns to his White Ranger powers. Wait for it. And he summons the Falcon Zord. Yes, seriously, the Falcon Zord. It flies up towards the rift and grabs the arrow, stopping it. Draven, naturally kind of displeased with the whole situation, stomps and swipes at the Rangers. They promise to keep on fighting, but the giant Draven is just so strong. Not really sure why not one of these Rangers tried to summon a Zord, especially since the Ninja Steel Rangers just got brand new Zords, last week. Instead, Tommy tells all the other Rangers on the ground to light him up and that he's bringing Draven a present. The Rangers all blast Draven with their sidearm lasers, which is really more of a distraction if you think about it. And then Tommy swoops down and delivers the mega arrow right into Draven's chest. He explodes and falls apart. The Rangers all celebrate with the really nice image of Rocky and Brody clasping hands. MMPR red, Ninja Steel red. Very nice, very nice. And with the third arrow not having reached the rift, it heals back up due to narrative convenience. The Rangers, sometime later, are all demorphed and saying their goodbyes. Finally, Gia says, no more Draven. Seriously, between this line, TJ's line, and Madame Odious's unspoken deal with Lord Draven, there really seems to be some kind of backstory here that they keep hinting at. That there's been some kind of past battle between the Legendary Rangers and Lord Draven that the Ninja Steel Rangers just got brought in on. Wes announces that the Ranger dimensions will remain separate and safe. which made this feel kind of like a Power Rangers version of Kingdom Hearts. Maybe Wes, Gemma, and Koda really were part of the Ranger World version of Organization 13. Brody says that all of these Rangers have their own worlds to protect, and they still have to deal with Madame Odious. But Rocky says Odious doesn't stand a chance, not with the Super Ninja Steel Rangers on her tail. Rocky, I'm sure the sentiment is appreciated, but please don't call this team the Super Ninja Steel Rangers. They're just the Ninja Steel Rangers. Wes opens up portals to the 3 main Ranger dimensions and everybody leaves. Tommy takes Kat's hand as they step through. Brody is the last one to leave the Antiverse, and of course, he declares that this was all very epic.
Shut up.
Shut up.
Shut up.
But was it, Brody? Was this anniversary episode enough to earn what would be Ninja Steel's first 5 out of 5? Let's find out as we throw stars. Episode 10, 25th Anniversary Special, Dimensions in Danger. Pros, action from nearly start to finish, returning Rangers actually treated with respect, and fan service overflow. Cons, really needed a second part, perhaps a little of an overfocus on Tommy, and an anticlimactic ending. It was amazing. Popcorn and candy for the eyes and soul. I loved it from start to finish. Ninja Steel's first 5? Sorry, not quite. Dimensions in Danger gets 4 stars out of 5. This was a ride! We get the smallest little bit of narrative setup before we're headed to the Antiverse and the action begins. Once it starts, the action does not stop until about the last 2 minutes of the episode for a quick little wrap-up. We get nice fight scenes for the Ninja Steel Rangers, which admittedly come from the Ninjas movie, but still. An amazing final Ranger fight, and of course, Tommy versus Tommy. Great action in original footage, and well-chosen Sentai footage. This next point is something that us older Ranger fans were watching like a hawk to see if they did it right or did it wrong ever since the legendary battle where Rangers like Mike and Emily got screwed over with no lines. But this time around, all of the returning Rangers were treated with respect. Some of them got more focus than others, Tommy getting the lion's share of the focus, of course, and then Wes, Gemma, and Koda getting next to the most focus as sort of the dimensional trio, to coin a term. However, and credit here to Ranger Liz for actually checking this out because I wasn't keeping a specific track, every returning Ranger got at least 2 lines. A couple of scenes were clearly written with a focus on you get a line, and then you get a line, and then you get a line, and then you get a line. But in this case, it was just so nice to actually hear from every returning Ranger, and they all got a focus in Ranger form as well. Big kudos. And you know to expect some fan service in an anniversary episode, but goodness gracious, you get Tommy fighting himself, which is instantly a top 5 fight in Power Rangers history. On top of that, Tommy, the real Tommy, has this new Master Morpher that can access all of his old powers. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that that thing can access the red turbo powers, and he just didn't see a need to use them in this case. And see Tommy just go through all of his Ranger history. We didn't see him use the Black Dino Thunder powers in the episode itself, but I actually understand why, since the clone was representing that suit. We get a fantastic final battle sequence that focused on all of the past Rangers. We got that zoom in on Rocky morphed right after the, well, morph. Really, the only fan service this episode was missing was individual morph sequences for everyone. I can understand that that's something they just didn't have time to include, and that effortlessly segues us into the cons because this episode badly needed a second part. And I'm not just saying that because it was awesome and I just wanted 30 more minutes of awesome. I'm fairly confident in saying that if you took just all of the content of this episode and just stretched it out into a second part, I would still be happier with it. You would have had more time for the Rangers to talk to each other, provide more exposition and deeper backstory, and yes, give us time for stuff like the full-on individual morphing sequences. But yes, more expanded backstory and explanation, because as much as this episode did explain, and credit to it for that, there's still a lot of stuff left up in the air. What caused Wes, Gemma, and Coda to meet in the first place? Where did Draven come from, and why did the former Rangers already know who he was? How and when did Draven contact Odious to make their deal? How did the 3 Organization 13 members know about the Ninja Steel Rangers without ever having actually visited them before? How do Rangers like Trent and Kat have their powers again? There was just more story to be told here, and more time would have definitely let the story breathe a little bit. Now, like I mentioned, some of the information that was left out of this episode seems to be hinted at intentionally, pointing at the fact that we might get more of those details filled in later, whether that's another anniversary special, or something in the comic books like Soul of the Dragon, etc. But I would have just liked some more time for details in this episode, and the ability to take a breath every once in a while. Now, some people are going to say that this isn't true, and others are going to say that I'm not bashing it hard enough. I'm obviously somewhere in the middle. This episode may have over-focused on Tommy just a little bit, though really for me there was only one point where they actually stepped over the line. Tommy rescuing the other veteran Rangers, that's fine. Tommy's awesome, and that's something that he would do. Tommy having this magical every Ranger power morpher and fighting against a clone of himself, that's getting closer, but that was still an incredible fight scene. No, for me, it was Tommy summoning the Falcon Zord and destroying the giant Draven single-handedly that pushed it a little over the line. 16 Rangers present, many of whom had access to Zords, or at least should have, but it's Tommy who summons his Falcon Zord and saves the day single-handedly. You know, when Tommy did summon his Falcon Zord, I was actually reminded of the fact that the Ninja Steel Rangers just got their brand new Blaze Zords, and you know, Brody, the currently standing Red Ranger, also now has a Falcon Zord by name. It really seems like an opportunity for the two of them to have worked together somehow. And sharing the focus a little bit as far as Tommy being captured and then getting free, again, why not have one of the Ninja Steel Rangers be captured as well? It gave the Ninja Steel Rangers a bigger reason to be involved in all of this story, and it would also give us Ninja Steel clones in Draven's army, which creates this twisted reflection of the current show itself. And that's something they could have done if they'd had more time, and all of these cons are tying together. And as awesome as all of the build-up in this episode was, it kind of peters out at the very end. We did get that awesome fight with the Ranger clone army, but once they were done, Draven really had nothing left. Odious grows him because she just really wanted him to win, but all he does is fire the arrow at the sky, something he did when he wasn't big. The Falcon Zord grabs it, everyone blasts him, Tommy arrows the dude, and he's done. I would have liked to have seen more weapons from the Rangers, more of a desperate, all-together, let's combine our powers moment. Maybe even the chance of what seems like a possible sacrifice in order to save the day? Oh well. In terms of Ninja Steel, this was easily the best episode of both seasons, with better characters and a lot more excitement. And the only moral of the day is that the Power Rangers have been awesome for 25 years, and they're never gonna stop being awesome. In terms of a Power Rangers anniversary episode, this was really good, but I would rate it just below Forever Red due to lack of character development and story buildup. All in all, this was an amazing experience. But now we must bid a fond farewell to the past Rangers and refocus on the battle of the Ninja Steel Rangers. Looks like we'll be seeing what happens with the last galactic ninja, Venoma, in the 11th episode of Super Ninja Steel, Love Stings. Preston learns not to believe everything he hears. Thank you, heroes, for watching another Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel episode review. And to those of you involved in the production of the show over the past 25 years, some of whom I'm honored to have learned actually do watch this channel, thank you. Thank you for being a part of bringing out this amazing, fantastic franchise that has brought me entertainment, friendships, and amazing experiences. Here's to 25 more years, and 25 after that, and just keep it going. may the power live on forever. Make sure to like the video by clicking that thumbs up button right down below. In the comments below, let me know what you thought of this episode as well as my review of it. Was this anniversary episode better than Legendary Battle, Forever Red, Once a Ranger, etc., etc.? Let me know down in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel to see all of my videos and ring the bell. Get your notifications set up so you get notified of whenever I post brand new videos, just like these Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel episode reviews. And if you would really like to lend a little financial support to my channel, head over to digitaltipjar.com/orangerangerbid, toss some tip change in the jar, and I'm grateful for whatever lands in there. What a ride this episode was, heroes. Until next time, may the power protect you. Combine Japanese footage of spandex-clad heroes fighting against rubber-suited monsters with Saved by the TV show and the comics are separate universes that would never touch on each other and intermingle in that way. That didn't sound right. Wow. Something that was established in the first episode of Super Ninja Steel when Sledge shows up. Ninja Steel takes place in the mainline continuity. By the way, my headcanon is that these... My headcanon is... They all hop in... Gia, Yellow Caflum. I was right, wasn't I? Of course I was. The past Rangers go to invade... where they mainly blasted each other a lot, before Draven blasts them with arrows from... Wait, yeah, that didn't even go right. Which I guess Odious provided to Draven? Anyway. Just after the episode finished airing on the East. But in that scene extension, we got both But you're telling me that whatever planet in the multiverse... Though I do suppose that Tommy, Cat, and Rocky have used Ranger Ninja... I guess in this case, too much pink energy. That's what happens when you ad-lib. And the other thing that just totally flew out of my brain for some reason. Computers are making all kinds of noises. I don't even know what the mic's picking up, but it's still annoying. No, whatever. Episode 10, 25th Anniversary Special, Dimensions in Danger. I can understand that that's something they didn't have time to include, and that effortlessly... I love that I screwed up saying the word effortlessly. Now, like I said, some of the information that was left out is... F and F, more like. Getting closer, but that was still an amazing fight scene. Oh, I said there's... yeah, I didn't. But now we must bid a fond farewell to the